like to call the May 15th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting to order to welcome our guests this evening. Did everyone receive their packets in time to review?
Yes.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from March 20th? If not, I will make a motion to approve the March 20, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, we have one public hearing this evening. Ms. Hall, would you like to fill us in?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. This evening, we have an application for change of zoning district classification from District R1 Residential General to Agricultural General District A2 by J. Brandon Kellum and Kelly Brent Kellum of 889 Taylors Creek Road, Weems, Virginia, for two parcels identified as what's the acreage? My apologies. Two parcels identified as tax map number 1666A, and the second parcel is tax map number 1667. Both parcels are located on Pinkersville Road in District 2. Article 4 of the Lancaster County zoning ordinance identifies permitted uses and regulations for Agricultural General District A2 zoning. The applicant wishes to utilize both of these parcels along with other property owned by the applicant known as tax map number 16-85 and 17-17, in part as horseback trail riding facilities. The properties are currently being used for agricultural purposes. In addition to the horseback riding facility, the applicant intends to continue the existing farming activities and to build a new single-family home on tax map number 16-66A, which will be the applicant's primary residence. The applicant's primary objective is to operate a horseback trail riding facility encompassing all four properties owned by the applicant. This type of facility is characterized as an equestrian academy. The existing R1 zoning classification of tax map 1666A and 1667 does not allow for an equestrian academy. Agricultural General District A2 zoning does allow for such a use, with a special exception. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a rezone to Agricultural General District A2 and has also applied for a special exception from the Board of Supervisors. Considering the existing uses and zoning classifications for the surrounding properties, rezoning of the subject properties to A2 is the most appropriate. Parcel maps illustrating nearby zoning and the applicable zoning ordinances were included in your packet. The applicant envisions a family-operated horseback riding business that would be open Thursday through Sunday during daylight hours. Small groups would reserve designated time slots to be approximately 1.5 to 2 hours in duration and enjoy a leisurely horseback stroll along a system of trails along the perimeter of the existing farm fields on the two tax map numbers requested, and led by the applicant as a guide. The property and horses will also be available for photo shoots by scheduled appointments. Horses are provided by the applicant and are housed on site in the existing barn on tax map 1667. The applicant currently has 5 horses for riders but does not intend to have any more than 8 horses. Traffic volume along Pinkersville Road should not have a significant increase. Primary parking will also be on tax map 1667 in an area between the horse barn and hay barn, in addition to overflow parking in the area of the old store, which has already been demolished. Parking will accommodate at least 6 vehicles. Sketches were included in your packet illustrating the existing and proposed uses. Also included in the packet were pictures illustrating the parcels and their uses. While most of the facilities are existing on the subject parcels, the applicant intends to convert the back portion of tax map 1667, which has already been timbered, into additional horse pasture with accessory buildings. Lancaster County is predominantly known as a waterfront community relying heavily on tourism, but is also known for its quiet rural charm characterized by beautiful rural road vistas, rolling hills, forested acreage, and active farmlands. Chapter 7 of the county's comprehensive plan states farmlands provide the aesthetically pleasing landscape referred to by many citizens, and the plan identifies goals and objectives to preserve and promote the county's rural character. The applicant's intentions and commitment to agricultural-based activities on their properties directly contribute to the county's objective to preserve and promote agricultural lands and activities. If approved, this rezoning request would definitely add to the inventory of agricultural properties within the county. While this applicant is passionate about equestrian activities and would like to share and cultivate this same passion with the public, they also believe their business will be a complement to the county's tourism industry by providing activity that otherwise has not been readily available to the public. An online query of similar businesses yielded only one other horseback riding facility located in the Northern Neck. A map of available horseback riding facilities in the region was included in your packet. To help the request, the applicant has provided a signed and notarized conditional rezoning proffer. And today, the applicant has updated that proffer to remove 2 additional uses after receiving feedback from an adjacent property owner. So he has eliminated 4-119, which was areas of basic seafood processing facilities with or without dockage facilities with a special exception. And he eliminated 4-1-51, which is pet cemeteries and pet crematoriums with a special exception. To date, we have only received 1 letter, which was a public comment regarding this request, and that has been shared with you in an email and before the meeting in person. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Great, thank you. Before we open the public hearing, do any commission members have any questions? I see Mr. and Mrs. Kellum are both here. Okay, at this time, I'll open the public hearing. If you would like to speak, please come to the podium, state your name and voting district.
Hi, so I'm Kelly Kellum. I'm sorry, allergies. And most of y'all know I've been here, I've grown up here my entire life. It was a family land, family barn. The old store that was the eyesore was family home place. We, out of respect for certain members of family, waited for them to be deceased per their wishes before we tore it down, out of respect, because that's the type of people we are. So we are now going forward with Air Dream, the 2 of us and our family. I've had horses my entire life. I have showed competitively. Now, the older I get, I am now on the trailing, want to do slow, and we actually enjoy going other places and trail rides. So we got a thought process in our head. We have all this beautiful land. We have so many friends and people that come to us that say, hey, can we come ride your horses? Hey, can we come ride? So we decided, well, this might be something beneficial to us as well, incorporating what we love and showing our love to others. My son rides, he has his own horse. My other 2 boys are now wanting to ride now that they've seen the big picture. So that's what we are trying to do. Keep the family in the land into my family, and pass it on down to my sons. Air love for horses, to educate the public, educate anybody really. We just want people to realize what horses, the therapy, the relaxation, the beautiful, what you can do back there. And I have to, a little bit partial, but Air land is beautiful. I mean, we have a lot of land in this day and age. It's hard to come by that much land. And so we hang tight, and so we want to share it with everybody. I'll let my husband speak because he's more about this, the business part of it. I love the horses, and they're my babies kind of portion. He's the businessman.
I'll just keep it short and sweet. She covered most everything. I know we had some concerns about the dog kennel, and mainly if we want to be able to have a couple dogs and breed them and sell the puppies later on, we want to be able to do that, so that's why we did not remove that part of it. But we appreciate y'all's consideration. Like I said, if we can follow through with this and just get a few kids to fall in love with horses, and it'll last their lifetime. So thank y'all for y'all's consideration, and y'all have any questions?
I didn't quite understand what you said about the dog kennels. They still on the table, right?
They are still on the table. We removed
Tell me about the dog kennel.
The dog kennel, we want to be able to breed our own dog at some point in time. Not right now, because both of our dogs are fixed, but
We used to breed Labradors.
Yeah, and
one time.
we may want to, down the line, our own personal dogs, not a huge, commercial
No.
puppy mill, nothing like that, just
5 or 6 puppies.
I raise beagles and breed beagles, so
Right.
that's why I'm kind of asking that question.
Right.
Where were you going when you put kennels in here?
Yeah.
There's kennels scattered all through Blackson County.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
We just want to be able to, like I said, breed our own, few puppies, maybe a couple times a year, if that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I don't want to be hearing dogs barking all the
Yeah,
time.
we don't.
So that's-
Yeah, well, you know, it's a few of us that do the exact same thing. You know, we got Beagles or whatever it is, and we breed our own.
Right.
And, you know, one litter this year, maybe a couple litters next year, and
Correct.
skip 5 years or something like that,
Right.
depending on what we getting.
Yes, sir.
So that's why I was coming.
And
Yeah.
that's basically what we want to do as well,
It-
sir.
Yeah, that would not be anything on a large scale. I just want to keep the option open of the ability to breed my dogs if I wanted to
Be able
and
to
sell the
them on the
puppies.
property.
I understand.
So that's, you know, that we, like I said, she mentioned that we had taken out the other two things. So, and the crematory
The
and the
pet
pet cemetery, our concern was that we would not be able to
Bury our own
our
horses.
own dogs or horses on our own property.
If you've never had a horse, it is not easy to bury a horse.
So-
It takes a big piece of equipment, and we have that, and we want to take care of our own animals, and I want them on my property. So
But-
that's what we want.
Once I realized that would have like been commercially done, like bringing in other people's
We
animals.
don't want that.
Yeah, no, this is only our animals, so that's why we took that out.
And that's fine, right down.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions. My initial thought is that it's a grand idea. I think it'll be a real asset for the county. But I know we have some neighbors here tonight, and I wondered if they had any thoughts on it that they'd like to.
I think she's going to
Share with-
speak after us,
Oh,
I
okay.
believe. Correct? Yes, there you go. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
you.
Okay.
Hi there, Catherine Bennett, and Robert and I live at 854 Pinkersville Road for the last 30 years. It's District 2. We also own 1002 Pinkersville, which was your great-aunt's house, and also her grandmother's house at 1028 Pinkersville Road. We absolutely love the Kellums. We can't say enough wonderful things about them, and this plan is fantastic. So we are thrilled with the equestrian business. The hiccup, thank you for removing those two provisions in the proffer. So I've been president of the Northern Neck Kennel Club. In order to breed your own dogs, you do not need a kennel license. You do not need a kennel business to do that. So that's what scares me about the kennel license and the business is boarding other people's dogs and having, since we live there and we have tenants in these two houses, which are very close. And in fact, on this map that y'all got, it shows in blue one of our properties. It indicates that it looks like it's one of theirs. It's right here. So anyway, don't take time from me. So if you would be so kind as to not allow the actual kennel business, we are more than thrilled with what they're doing, and if there's any way we can support them, we would love to do that. We're trying. We just got a new tractor today, and hope to be back in the haymaking business, and maybe we can work out something there. We have organic hay, so that's the main thing. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to do that. So. But their properties are all around our properties. So their trail business will be on 3 sides of our properties, 3 whole sides. And so we are very supportive of that, but not the kennel business. You don't need a kennel license to breed your own dogs. I'm immediate past president of the Kennel Club, and I know that as a fact. So Any questions? I'm happy to answer. I'm thrilled, and thank you for your service. Anything else? And I did provide a letter with pictures so that y'all could see the proximity of our property and what they're doing. So, and we sleep with our windows open. We don't want to hear dogs barking at night. We're very, very, very quiet people. We stick to ourselves.
Thank you.
Excuse me, excuse me. Did you say you did not want the kennel business?
I oppose the kennel business.
For the horses, but oppose the kennel?
We love the horses, but you don't need a kennel license or a kennel business to breed your own dogs. So a kennel allows you to take in other dogs, to board them, like hunting dogs, which are lovely, lovely animals, but we don't need a kennel of, if they, all they want to do, and I would love to see your puppies and all that, but all they want to do is breed their own dogs, which they don't need a kennel license to do.
Thank you.
People breed at home all the time. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ms. Hall?
Thank you. I'd like to add a point of clarification here. In the packet, the GIS that was included, the printout there, the blue indicates the R1 zoning. It does not indicate ownership of the parcel. Those parcels were outlined in orange, and her parcel was not included in that, so that's not accurate. And the kennel, our code defines a kennel as a place prepared to house, board, breed, handle, or otherwise keep or care for dogs and cats for sale or return, or in return for compensation. So that's why he left the kennel option in there, because to take it out would remove that option. I just want to point out that anyone who has A2 zoning has that as a by right use with a special exception. So if you ask them to, not that you can ask them that, but if a neighbor asks them to remove that and has A2 zoning themselves, which in this case, the Bennetts have A2 zoning, they would be asking for something that they themselves have, that you would, you know, that if approved, that would not be included in their proffered conditions, or, yes, excuse me. So they wouldn't be able to do that on that parcel. I think the point I'm trying to make here is that it's a by right use with a special exception for a kennel in A2. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rowe, do we have anyone online for public comment? Okay. At this time, I'll close the public hearing. Planning Commission members, are there any other comments, discussion? Gentlemen? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the Kellums application for rezoning from District R1, General Residential, to District A2, Agricultural General, be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with our recommendation for approval.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
And a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Great, we have one discussion item on the agenda for this evening, potential updates to Part 1 zoning ordinances. Mrs. Hall?
Madam Vice Chair, Andrea Pruitt has prepared a very nice packet on this topic. Super impressed with that, and she is going to, yay! She is going to lead us in this discussion. Take it away, Andrea.
Thank you. This issue is to discuss a request to update Article 28, utility scale solar energy facilities, more specifically 28.3 or 28-3 small scale residential solar, and the applicable definitions that go along with that. In response to concerns regarding an existing solar facility on a residential property, the Board of Supervisors discussed elements of the efficacy of the existing ordinance, inquiring if the actual configuration, location, and operation of these existing solar facilities are coalescing with the intent of the ordinance as it relates to small-scale residential solar facilities, specifically size, height, location, and noise. Therefore, the Board of Supervisors voted affirmatively to request the Planning Commission to reevaluate the existing ordinance as it pertains specifically to small-scale residential ground-mounted solar structures. An excerpt from that Board of Supervisors meeting was included in your packet. In addition, to facilitate this discussion, your packet includes staff research, including a copy of the applicable ordinance, a solar ordinance comparison table for neighboring localities' ordinances, pertinent research, and staff recommendations. This discussion is envisioned as a work session to identify potential revisions to the existing ordinance and to address the concerns of both the Board of Supervisors and community members. Thank you. Oh, sorry, one other thing. So there were two things that were handed out to you. In that research, we had a little bit of information about the existing solar facilities that are already in the county. That this report was prepared a month or so ago, and since then, there have been 3 other solar facilities or residential solar generators that have been installed. So there's a little memo that updates just some of those numbers there. And then, in case you can't fall asleep at night, you can read this, the municipal solar ordinances and policies. So these are actually the full ordinances from that comparison table. I just kind of cherry picked some stuff out of there to compare. This actually gives you what they're full, if they have an ordinance, it's fully in here. So it just kind of gives you the broader idea of what all these ordinances are. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So, commission members, where would you like to begin this discussion? I'll say, under max surface area, I thought the chart was amazing. So thank you, Andrea, for creating that. And it gives you a really good feel for where we are in comparison to the other counties and how large that 10,000 square feet really is. So I know personally, looking at this, I would think that I would like to see that reduced. That was the biggest thing that jumped out at me. Other comments?
Yeah, I've been here a lot of years, and I was telling Olivia, I think this is probably the best study I've ever seen. It is completely high quality. It brings up all the relevant factors, explores each one, puts them in perspective, and ends up with recommendations, each of which I agree with. How could it be better? A really outstanding piece of work.
Thank you.
I agree.
See?
Anyone else?
I learned a lot. Thank you.
So did anyone see anything else that they would like to change, or Ms. Pruitt, is there anything else that would you like to specifically?
I thought maybe if you wanted to turn to the recommendations, since that really boils down everything that's in there to, a few lines. I thought maybe if you all had if you wanted to go through them one by one, possibly, if you think that doesn't take up too much time. And if you had any particular questions, or you thought there might be something to add or anything, we can certainly address it, one by one, if you'd like to, of course.
I think that's a great idea. Is that okay with everyone? So the Planning Commission discussion items, the first item is capacity of solar facility. So staff recommends that a small-scale residential facility should be defined as one with a maximum capacity of 25 kilowatts, excuse me. Agricultural and commercial solar, the Planning Commission may want to review ordinance for compatibility with any changes to the small-scale residential solar ordinance. For example, amend the size as a facility with a maximum capacity of 500 kilowatts, as well as designate what districts said facility is allowed by right or otherwise.
If you don't mind, I'll like elaborate on this one just a little bit. And this goes back to the 10,000 square feet that's already in our ordinance, and that was really, I think, the main thing that was brought up in that Board of Supervisors meeting, or that was the initial thing that was talked about in terms of the size. When you go back to the Virginia Code sections about solar, and the idea of selling back or tying into the grid and selling back, for a residential facility to be able to do that, you cannot have any more than 25, you can't have more than a system that's more than 25 kilowatts. So the way we did, then we kind of reverse engineered that based on the different types of solar panels, and you saw kind of all those calculations kind of in there. So when you take more or less a very low efficient kind of facility, and you kind of calculate those numbers, really kind of, you're never going to get anything currently over probably 2,500 square feet. And even the particular example that was brought up in the Board of Supervisors meeting, and that one in particular is actually a very robust, large one, more so than the, like a national average. And that square footage was 999 square feet, surface area, that is. We're not talking about height or anything, just the surface area. So, and that is kind of that's big, and that's a fairly big one for a ground mounted, and that doesn't really exceed 1,000 square feet. So, yes, the 10,000 kind of is large, so the board can talk about actually still keeping a square footage on it, or again, you can just stick to the actual size of the facility, because I think that will, my guess is that it's going to control that size no matter what, really. But you can do both, actually.
But you can't
if you
go
want.
above 25K.
You cannot.
So that's gonna control it right there, that controls the square footage. So,
Yes, correct. I think so.
Yeah.
But again, it wouldn't necessarily hurt to put both in. You could say no more than a 25 kilowatt system that does not exceed 2,500 square feet, or something, if you wanted to, if you felt better about having an actual square footage in there, you certainly can reduce that down from the 10,000.
Would the type of system you deploy, the person deployed, though, could 25 could eat up 5,000 square feet? I mean, I don't.
Maybe, and that, I think that comes with the less efficient panels.
And you would think moving forward, they would be more efficient.
Right. I mean, I think if you
You would
look at
think.
most technology, as you get better technology, things get smaller.
Smaller, yeah.
So that's not always the case. Of course, our televisions have gotten bigger, I think, but
But they got thinner.
they did get thinner. Absolutely.
And lighter,
So-
and they're
Yeah.
not as heavy.
So, anyway, so that was just kind of, just to elaborate a little bit, like kind of the methodology behind coming up with that, basically.
Well, even though what Mr. Lee had said that, and you had also said that it would control itself, wouldn't it, and since you brought it up, wouldn't it make more sense to put a square footage in? I think you said 2,500 right now.
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt if you look at the,
That way we've covered it basically.
You would.
We've set a spot, you can't go past here, and you can't go past here. So
true. And the other element, and I think it's mentioned in here maybe a little bit later, is you can always, if somebody wants to diverge from that, you can always maybe put in a clause saying if you want to do anything different than what's outlined in the ordinance, that could be by special exception. Or there might be some mechanism to modify that on a case-by-case basis, other than, keeping the ordinance at whatever, whatever you want to do. So I don't think it would hurt to put a square footage on it. And most of the ones in the comparison table, I think you really got, most of them were more, the largest was 2,500 square feet, really.
if we, like I said, if we put it there, stopped it here and here. I mean, you could
Yeah.
also add, like you just said, a special exception. Anything other than this, what's allowed in this, that would have to be for the board of supervisors for a special exception.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, that's what you already said, so.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board? Do you want to kind of decide on each thing as we go, or?
I think that would be good.
I think that'll be better. So what I heard was, I'm just looking at the chart for notes to see. So in that first or second column, or what I think I'm hearing is that we want the max size to be no greater than 25,000 and under.
2,500.
2,500, I'm sorry. Yeah, that'd be a problem. And,
25,000 kilowatts though.
25 kilowatts.
25,000 watts,
Yeah.
25 kilowatts.
Yeah, 25 kilowatts.
Yeah.
And 2,500 square feet in the fourth column. Okay, is everybody,
And I think we should also have the provision for a special exception.
okay? Anything else on that piece? Okay, so the next thing was about name and definition. And it says if a small-scale solar facility is allowed in all districts by right and is thus redefined by size, staff recommends removing the word residential and simply name it small-scale solar. Did you want to elaborate?
All I can say is it was kind of a pet peeve of mine. So it doesn't really matter, but I just thought it might be a little confusing if it's just as residential, somebody that maybe in a commercial zone that wants to put a small scale, you just don't want them to be confused that they can't. So if you can put a small scale, ground mounted, whatever on, agricultural property or commercial property or industrial property for that matter, maybe it should just be called small scale, is all.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. The next one was surface area facility. We already addressed that. The setbacks, the staff recommends no changes except with the solar carports. So then the next item is the solar carports. So staff recommends language that is inclusive or allowing solar carports. You guys have already read this, I'm not sure why I'm reading it. Did you want to add anything, Ms. Pruitt?
I can add a little bit to it. So, in theory, a solar carport is technically considered ground-mounted because everything is integrated into the structure. I think you could, ultimately, if you really wanted to, you could put solar panels on like a traditional carport, but usually that structural system is not going to hold it. So it's like this whole thing. So basically, if you get to, it's considered ground mounted, and according to our ordinance, any ground mounted has to meet primary structure setbacks. So generally, in like R1, it would be 25 feet. However, carports, a traditional carport, would be an accessory structure in most cases, and that would have a 5-foot setback. So you get kind of into, what's what. If you're going to allow a traditional carport at 5 feet from a property line, if you have a solar carport, which really just does the same thing, it just has solar panels on it, the question, and this is more just a question to y'all, should it still meet the primary setbacks, or should it also meet the accessory setback? So it's more what you feel.
Thoughts?
I don't think 5 feet is enough. I think the accessory setback would be better.
Zone for accessory.
Steve?
I mean, the other thing is you could leave everything as is, and again, you could put an exception or a caveat that says, all ground-mounted solar has to meet primary setbacks with the exception of a carport, which could meet the 5-foot setback. If you wanted to word it, you could probably work some wording in like that. I mean, we haven't seen any solar carports in the county yet, and actually, we only have one ground-mounted. Most people put their solar panels on their roofs. So I don't know if this is putting the cart before the horse as well. So I don't know if it needs to be really addressed.
It should be though. That's what addressing that.
If you,
I agree. So what are your thoughts?
I don't know, like Dave said, I think it needs to be more than 5 feet back of it. But I think in the future, we're gonna be coming back to this and we should set something now, so it's, you know.
I agree. Glenn, how about you?
Oh, I'm fine. If you want to go more than 5 feet.
Okay,
Well, what is the setback for accessory?
Is it 25?
25.
for an accessory structure, any accessory structure, it's generally 5 feet.
Unless it's more than 1 story tall.
Right. You know, like, yeah.
And then it has to meet the 25-foot setback for main structure. So in this case, someone could submit an application for a carport with solar on top, and they would request that accessory setback of 5 feet. So if you want it to be more, we'd have to make a change there to address that.
Okay. So I heard lots of mores.
What's a good number for that, for the setback? Okay.
Well, I mean, I think you can still keep it at the way that the ordinance reads for solar, which is 25 feet. So if you have a solar carport, then you can make that,
So main structure setback of 25
just
feet.
automatically say it's a main structure setback, if you want to do that, or you can
Just out of
let it go.
curiosity, why are we making carports move, as an accessory, move 8 or 10 feet or 12 feet off the line? Where we're making somebody's shed, it only has to be 5 foot off the line. An accessory. I'm just curious. I mean, I know in the BZA, we had one not too long ago that if it's attached to the house, it has to be the 25 feet off. And we had to take care of that problem.
Right.
I'm just asking questions. I don't know.
And it can be on the roof of your main structure.
Correct. I don't know what I've seen one somewhere, but I don't remember where I saw it at. But, I mean, it's just a shed with a bunch of panels on it. But I'm just asking a question. I don't know.
Yeah. So as it stands now, because the solar is only allowed with the main structure setback, then it would be the 25 feet. So you're saying you don't like, because originally we were kind of floating the idea of with the exception for the solar carports, so that would be that 5-foot accessory. So there's that, but Don, is there a compromise in there? Could we do a setback just for a solar carport that deviates from the accessory in the main?
I mean, you could, but the question is, do you want to? Because then it makes it more confusing. I mean, I don't know that we need to address a solar carport at this point, to be honest. That's just my opinion.
You know, I hear what you're saying. The only problem with not addressing it, if somebody walks in here tomorrow,
Yeah.
you got one. You starting at scratch then, because you don't have nothing to go on.
Yeah.
And then it's the 25 feet.
You will fall back to the 25
Yep.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We would.
So can I ask the members who said that you thought it needed to be more than 5, can I ask you why?
I just think that's a little close. I mean, when I built my house, it had to be 50 feet off the road, so, I mean, 5 feet, that just seems close. I mean, I'm not a solar panel expert, but I mean, I just feel like the more we go on, it's gonna be more and more and more and more and more things as we go down the road later on. And I just feel like we should put something, something to begin with. I think 5 feet is kind of too short to begin with.
Do you make it the same 25 feet to keep everything
Yeah, I mean,
the same? You know, there's no confusion. It's 25 feet.
yeah.
My answer to that same question is, I think 5 feet is too short for any setback. I feel that way about a shed. Anyway, that's why I said that.
Okay, so right now it's at 25. So I think what I'm hearing from the commission is that you want to leave it the way it is, correct? Which is at 25. Okay.
I mean, because you, like you said, you can always come back and ask for a special subsidy and vote that going forward.
I think we'd need to add that language.
Yeah, because right now it doesn't say anything about a special exception.
Would that fall under a variance, though? If you had a solar carport that you wanted to put closer than 25 feet, could you go to the BZA and request a variance for that?
Yes.
So that could just be your default remedy or potential remedy.
Well, once you do that and it's approved, then you start a precedence where
That's-
everybody can come in now and
that's-
just, let's go to the BZA and let's all get it done. So,
And that's the problem, yeah.
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 What are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree, I think 5 feet isn't far enough for anything to be away, but if it's allowed to be 5 feet, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm good with going with you guys and leaving it like it is. I don't have a problem with that. Glenn, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, W1 and location restrictions. Staff recommends no change. Is everybody okay with no change there?
I don't think it would be legal. I don't think the state would let us.
And I think that's what Andrea had some information in the packet on that, and we were going to specifically ask Mr. Cornwell an opinion, so we can have that for you at the next meeting.
Attorney. Clyde, you okay with that?
Attorney opinion at the next meeting, yes.
Okay. Decommissioning. It's already covered. Everybody okay with that? Okay. And then on the next page, screening and aesthetics. May want to reevaluate after more ground-mounted solar facilities are constructed in the county. So nothing to really change at this point?
No, I mean, again, the original request came from a board member, a Board of Supervisors member, and his neighbor who has a ground-mounted one, and did not think it looked all that pleasing. But again, that is literally the only ground-mounted residential solar facility in the county so far. Again, everyone's put them on the roofs. So
It's another one.
Yeah, I think we
It's
have
one at
three.
Flower Field.
Yeah, I think we got three.
residential or commercial?
Residential.
Residential.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, Flowering Fields has one.
okay.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard anything since the beginning of that. I
No.
haven't, they
I
got
mean-
calls at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's small, it's not.
So I'm not sure if it's necessary to completely address it right this second. But again, that would be up to y'all, how you feel about it.
Any input? Okay, so we'll just leave it at this point. The height of the ground mounted?
On that one, so we don't really have anything specific in our solar ordinance about the height of a ground-mounted solar facility. But in all the zoning districts, there is a height limit. And again, like R1, some of those more common ones, you're gonna get, I think it's 35 feet. Not that anyone would ever, I don't think anyone would ever build a ground-mounted facility that tall. But again, you never know, I suppose. And so you could put a height limit on it. And part of that discussion goes towards how to do that sometimes. Because so some of the counties and other municipalities define their height based on like the tilt. So to keep a ground-mounted facility lower to the ground, you identify a max amount on highest tilt and a max amount on lowest tilt. So you could say 10 feet on the highest tilt and 8 feet on the highest tilt and 4 feet on the lowest tilt, meaning it can't be way up here. It's always going to be kind of down here. Or you can just simply say nothing could be more than X amount, 15 feet, 12 feet, whatever it is. But doing the both kind of helps keep it a lot lower to the ground. Now, whether that is the most, again, when we're talking about solar panels in these facilities, they're very nuanced in how they are designed and where they go on a piece of property and how it all works. So they're not all created equal, not all properties are created equal, of course. So, where you put it, sometimes, and I think this goes back to that Board of Supervisors meeting where they didn't like where that person put it, but maybe that was the most efficient place to put it. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in the height and what it looks like, because it might be the most efficient way to do it. So getting into you don't want to create, I don't think you want to create a system or a system of ordinances that inadvertently prohibits people from, or creating it so it has to be in this little box of an area when we know that there's a lot of different variables there. So, so when it comes to the height, you can go one way or the other or not say anything. I don't think anyone's going to do a 35-foot high.
Unless there's a way for them to make money.
Yes, or something.
Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, if I may point out, the solar ordinance comparison table that Andrea prepared has a max height ground mounted and a max height roof mounted in the last two columns. And it shows what all the counties are doing there that are close to us. And so it appears that 15 would be the highest, the max height for ground mounted. So that's a good metric on what everyone else around us is doing.
That's also the limit for the utility scale solar in Lancaster County. So I think 15 is a good number.
So I personally think we should add it. How about the rest of you?
Yep.
15 feet?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And then the height of the roof mounted recommendation is for no change.
Mm-hmm.
And noise, it's already covered by the existing noise ordinance. And then deviations from the ordinance. Did you want to address that?
Again, just, I think when you're going back to the scale or the size of the facility, if that is kind of the biggest trigger for whether your neighbor likes it, doesn't like it, whatever, if they want to do something bigger than that, it might be worth putting in just, if you want to deviate from anything, primarily the size, you would have to obtain a special exception, and it would have to be, obviously you'd have to make a case as to why that is. And again, that kind of goes back to the idea of how you create these facilities to be the most efficient. So I think in some shape or form, having that mechanism in place just in case might be a good idea.
Mr. Lee, what is your thought? I know over the years we've tried to not add special exceptions, so.
Yeah, but I understand what she's saying, though. These things, I hate to use the word fluid, but it is fluid. And,
With
so
that,
I don't see any harm in having that in there.
Okay.
would that fall under the first one you went over, the size of, with the special exception?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the size that has, if the board goes ahead and passes or revises the ordinance that creates it based on size with the 2,500 square feet, again, I think the size of it is going to dictate how big it's going to be, and because of that, everything will fall into place under the ordinance. I don't think largely you're going to find any really great way to deviate from it again, because you can't, if it's a resident, if you're using it for a residential purpose, you cannot have more than a 25 kilowatt system. So aside from that, there's a lot of times there would be no reason to ask for a special exception unless you're talking about maybe, the location or
That's what I
something.
would think, the location.
The location of it. So, but I don't think anyone's really going to I don't think they're ever really going to go over 2,500 square feet. And I don't think anyone's really, residentially speaking, is going to ask for something more than 25 kilowatts.
Thank you.
I will just add as a caveat that solar panels are considered impervious cover, so they are not allowed in the resource protection area. Just as an extra bit of information there.
Is everybody?
I didn't hear it.
Solar panels are considered impervious, so they are not allowed in the resource protection area buffer. So that's just an extra piece of information regarding where solar can be placed.
Unless they are on top of existing impervious cover, like a roof. You can-
Correct.
yeah, you can-
If the imperviousness already exists and you're not increasing it, then it would be allowable. Otherwise, it would be considered an increase in imperviousness and would not be allowed.
So I think we've gone through everything. Can we ask that the changes be made and then we bring it, are we ready to bring it to public hearing at the next meeting?
We can write up the language for you at your request and bring it as a consideration item. And then you can review it to see, and we can get that feedback from the county attorney if you like. And then that way, you can vote at that time to see if you want to take it to public hearing,
Perfect.
just so we can finalize that language.
Okay, that sounds great. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Great. Under other business, planning commission elections. So the easy one is Crystal, so I move that we keep Crystal Way as our secretary.
She's doing such a fine job.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Any recommendations for chair and vice chair?
I recommend we keep it the same.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to keep it the same. Are there other motions?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your vote of confidence. Thank you. Another thing in other business, the June meeting falls on Juneteenth. So, Mrs. Hall, would you like to?
Sure. You typically take either June or July off, and since this year your meeting falls on a holiday, which is a federal and a county holiday and a state holiday, the recommendation would be to take June off and return in July.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Does anyone want to make the motion?
We were misbehaving.
So I move that we take off the holiday and not meet in June and have our next meeting in July.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Is there any other business?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So then the last thing is a board report from Mr. Sorensen.
All I can tell you is that we're starting to have a whole bunch of them come through. I don't know what's going on. We went from nothing to a bunch of them. I think Andrew's going out and getting them. And that's my report.
Is there anything else from any of the commission members? All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.